Hey guys, today we're going to be doing elapsed time. So I'm going to teach you how to do this problem in your book. It's in page 565. The first way I'm going to teach you is using a number line. To move time in a number line, we're going to look for three parts. The first part is going to be the start time. The second part is going to be the elapsed time. And the last part is going to be the end time. So first, I need to tell you what elapsed time is. Elapsed time is the amount of time that passes from one time to another. So I'm going to go ahead and read the problem. Ava and her family visited Space Center Houston. They watched a movie that began at 4:10 p.m. and ended at 4:53 p.m. How long did the movie last? If we were doing our B cup, we would start with the first sentence. Ava and her family visited Space Center Houston. This sentence doesn't matter because it doesn't tell us anything about time. The second sentence says, I'm going to stop at the word end. They watched a movie that began. Began is an important word because that means that it started at 4:10 p.m. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 4:10 p.m. inside this box. If I continue reading, it says ended. The word ended is important because it means that it's the end time at 4:53 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. Now, we're looking at the start of a movie and the end of a movie. That's what the problem is about. Your job is to find the elapsed time. So I'm going to put a star here because that's what we're going to find. So to start moving our time, we're going to start at 4:10 and we're going to focus on the minutes. The minutes are on a clock, on a digital clock. The hour is the number on this side and the minutes are the numbers on this side. We're only going to move the minutes because if you see the start time and the end time, the hour is exactly the same. It's a 4 and a 4. The minutes are the ones that moved. So we're going to only move from 10 minutes to 53 minutes. So I'm going to start by adding in my number line 10 minutes, increments of 10. So I'm going to add 10 plus 10 in my head because I know how to skip count by 10. 10 plus 10 is 20. So that means that it's now 4:20. And I'm going to keep going until I get to 4:53. So I'm going to add 10 more plus 10. So I'm going to add 20 plus 10 more. That would be 4:30. We're adding in our heads. And then 4:30. I'm going to keep adding 10 until I get close to 4:53. 30 plus 10. 30 plus 10 becomes 4:40. When you are doing your jumps, remember to put your hour on the jump. Do not put it in the middle because then you're going to get confused. Make sure that you're putting it on the exact jump. It's now 4:40. I'm still getting close to this minutes, 53. 4:40 plus 10 more. That becomes 4:50. Now I see that I got close to there. If I add 10 more, it's not going to be 53. It's going to be 60 and that's more. So I'm only going to add the minutes that I need. From 4:50 to get to 53, I need to add 3 minutes. I'm going to do it in ones. So it's going to be plus 1, 4:51. I forgot the little dots there. Plus 1, 4:52. And then plus 1 more. That becomes 4:53, and I got there already. So now the elapsed time is these jumps. We have to do one more step. To find out how long the movie lasts, we need to go ahead and add these increments of time. So I'm going to go ahead and add them. If I add them together, this becomes 10 plus 10 is 20. So I'm going to say this is 10. I'm going to add 20. I'm adding the time that it jumped. Plus 10 would be 30. Plus 10 more will be 40. Plus 1, 41. plus plus one more, 42, plus one more, 43. That means that the minutes that passed were 43 minutes. And that becomes your elapsed time. That means that the movie lasted 43 minutes. And that is your answer. Now, there's another way to do it. This was one way only. I'm going to use the same problem, but this time I'm going to use a clock. And here's my clock already ready for y'all. This is another way. On the clock, I already put my start time. To refresh your memory about clocks, the small hand on a clock is the hour clock. The long hand is the minutes. The hour is represented by the numbers inside of the clock. All these numbers represent hours. The minutes are these little lines that you see here. In your mind, they're imaginary. They're imaginary and they all exist. And when we count our minutes, to do it faster, we count by fives. So I'm going to show my work on my clock by showing my minutes. On the 12, we're going to put 00 on there. Because every time the minute gets to that 12, it becomes an hour, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and so on. So every time that I touch a number that is with an hour, I'm going to move it 5 minutes. I'm going to put here 05 because on a clock, on a digital clock, we say it's 105 or 15, but we write it this way with a 0 and a 5. Every number is 5 minutes. So it's going to be 5 minutes, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, and 00 is also 60. And the reason that it's 60 is because 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So it converts to an hour once it gets to 60. So you're never going to see 3 p.m., 360 on a digital clock. You're going to say C 359, and then it's going to turn into 4 because that's the next hour. So back to the problem. Ava and her family visited Space Center Houston. We don't need that sentence. They watched a movie that began at 4:10 p.m. So the clock shows 4. It's not right on 4 because they're already moved. 4:10, as you can see here. So that means that that's our start time. So I'm going to write it down over here. The start time was 4:10. 4:10 is our start time. And the ending time is going to be 4:53. So I'm going to move my minute hand until I get to 4:53. So for that, you need to know how to use a clock. If you don't know how to use a clock, then I suggest you tell your parents to help you learn how to move it, or easier, do the number line. So we're going to move it to 4:50 p.m. It's already on 4 o'clock, so I'm going to move my minute all the way to 4:50. So this is already 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. If my minute hand moved all the way to 50, I still need to move it to 51, 52, 53. I'm going to put my finger there. So I'm going to go ahead and move my minute to 4:53 right there. And when that moves, this doesn't mean that it stays the same there. It also moves a little bit. So I'm going to move my hour a little bit, almost to 5. And the reason I'm going to move it almost to 5 is because it's getting closer to that hour. So we see there that elapsed time happened. I'm going to color it in yellow so you can see it. All this time from this minute hand to where it moved, all this time here is elapsed time. I'm going to use my yellow crayon like we do in class. And I'm going to color it all the way in. You're going to see some problems like this in your book, so make sure that you understand what I'm doing before you start doing any of the work. This whole time that passed is elapsed time. Now, that doesn't mean that 53 minutes passed. No, we have to still count the minutes that pass. So we're going to go back to our minutes, and we're going to start counting our minutes by fives because that's what we know how to count here. So from where this minute hand is, I'm going to jump and put 5 here because 5 minutes passed from this one to this one. And I'm going to keep adding forward. This is 10, 20, I'm sorry, not 20, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Now I'm going to move it by ones only. 41, 42, 43. And that is our elapsed time. Now remember, our ending time that came from the problem, our end, was 4:53. With all the work that we showed, we found out that the time that moved was 43 minutes. So the elapsed time of this problem is 43 minutes. And that, guys, is your answer. That's your little star. So there are 2 ways. Your number line and your clock. You can do it either way. I prefer that you learn how to do the number line because later on, you're going to have to convert hours to minutes or minutes to hours, and it's going to be easiest to do it with the number line. I hope this helps, guys. Bye.